Are you trapped in a simulation? Are you trapped inside a fantasy? Most of us would like to think that we're living in reality. But in reality, the subconscious can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality. My friend comes to me and he says, "Soto, I'm miserable." I asked him, what would it feel like to have everything you want? He was confused. He was struggling with sexual fantasies. He felt shame that his attention was so easily drawn away from his fiancée. I asked him, what would it feel like to have everything you want? Everything that you are fantasizing about? He was confused. He said to have everything I want, I'd have to leave my girl. He was confused. He was confusing fantasy for reality. I asked him, do you think the subconscious mind can tell the difference between fantasy and reality? He was confused. Well, what is the difference between fantasy and reality? The moment our body experiences a very real sensation, it passes into the realm of memory and imagination. Almost immediately, what was reality has been transformed into fantasy. In that way, we have two sets of senses, two sets of eyes, two sets of ears, two sets of everything weaving together into the fabric of our reality. The further these two sets of senses move away from each other, the further we get buried in our own personal simulation. And often that becomes our own personal hell. My friend comes to me and he says, "Soto, I'm miserable." I asked him, what would it feel like to have everything you want? To allow your subconscious mind to have another woman, to have countless women, to have even infinite women. He was confused. He said, but that's not reality. Do you think your subconscious mind can really tell the difference between fantasy and reality? Right now, you're stuck in a loop. You've been watching pornography, my friend. You've been telling your subconscious mind that it can have the freakiest sex with any woman it wants. Do you think it can tell the difference? Do you think it can tell that in reality you've committed to one woman? Do you think it can tell the difference when your fantasy you indulge? Right now, you're stuck in a loop. Because although you indulge, you hold back. You only want to be aware of the sanitized version of your desire. You don't want to know the difference between fantasy and reality. You don't want to admit that you live the majority of your life stuck in fantasy. That your imagination is stuck in a simulation and can't close the loop. I asked him, what would it feel like to have everything you want? Intimacy, validation, power. Are these the things you want? You'll never know if you don't close that loop. You have to allow your subconscious to close the loop. Dive all the way into your fantasy. Take it to its logical conclusion. And then tell me what it feels like. Tell me what it feels like to have no shame. Tell me what it feels like to have no hesitation. Tell me what it feels like to have no subconscious frustration. To finally be able to bring the senses of your fantasy in line with the senses of your reality. To be one in mind and body. You don't need infinite women in reality to close the loop and get back to your life. Back to your real life, where you can build a beautiful family, raise a daughter, start a business, share values with friends across the world. None of that can start if you never close the loop. If you never can tell the difference between fantasy and reality. So I'm begging you to ask yourself, what would it feel like if I had everything I want?